In their latest game against NRG Kia, I think Cloud9 put an absolute clinic in the draft phase, putting their priorities all in all the right places and having a very thorough and well thought out drafting plan that really had NRG on their toes, to be honest with you. And it's one of those drafts where you're like, it sounds good, the picks you're getting for NRG up until you see all 5 picks locked and you're like, wait, this is kind of losing, guys. So I want to kind of break down how C9 kind of coerced their way into getting some really solid matchups all around the board and just having a really cohesive comp. It all starts from the ban phase here because I want you to pay attention towards this Corki ban, which is a little bit specific, and the two AD carry bans that follow. Both of these AD carries are very lane neutralizing AD carries. They have a lot of sustain built into the kits. They're really good in terms of their matchup spread, and they make CL expression in the bottom lane not as apparent. Right? The Corki ban is for this Azir B1 because the Corki has been coming back up a little bit, surprisingly enough, to the point where it's gathering bans. What I want you to keep in mind here as well is that the AD carry pool is still pretty choked, and the only things remaining are basically the Lucian Milio that's going to be picked here in BR1, R2, as well as the potential answer from C9 in B2, B3, which is basically the best in slot pick into Lucian Milio, which is, I would say, Varus for the matchup into the AD carry, and Nautilus for the support counter, because it's not really cleansable from Milio, right? Milio cannot cleanse knockups. So combine that with him having an overall weakness to engage. Things like Nautilus, Alistar, Rakan are usually the things that you want to go for if you're going for an offensive pick into the Lucian. So far, when you have an impenetrable blind pick, in my eyes, and 2 picks on B2, B3 that end up countering the quote-unquote priority pick Lucian Milio, I would say you're already in a pretty good spot here. There are some things, like Azir does have counters, but especially in professional play, it's something that's really hard to penetrate through. So let's say, for example, there's still like Yone and Silas and Akali, like aggressive picks, but there's also things like just a Xerath or a Ziggs, or you'd have to be APA to really come up with counters that can outrange the Azir. So those are the two main methods. And right now, C9 can basically add counters to either of them, right? I mean, NRG have already shown their Talia on R3, which is a very Palafox type of pick, but requires a lot of execution, right? The way C9 has it set up right now, it's very easy to execute, and they have a lot of different ways they could play the game, and a lot of different ways to start fights, and just play the game in basically any way they want. And that's what makes this comp so strong already, with just 3 picks, right? The Jarvan here is also a very, very homeless pick because the jungle pool got choked very significantly in phase 2 because neither team picked one. But the reason I say it's homeless is because NRG might determine that they need aggressive picks in order to come out ahead in this game. But with the jungle pool unprioritized over this Talia, they basically lost a lot of options. It made it that much harder for really NRG to kind of get into C9's grasp here. And really, there's not really much champions left here, but I'm pretty sure Jarvan is not one of them. Then C9 end up blinding again with a strong priority pick onto Udyr and round up with Viego. So it's just all generalist comps, but not in a bad way in this case, because this just enables them to play basically on any side of the map. They can neutralize on every part. They can play wherever they want. They have strong sides, winning on every single part. And this is despite NRG having quote-unquote decent picks all around the board, right? You could argue Cassante, pretty strong pick, decent blind, he picks at R5. Lucian Milio, pretty strong pick, but that's the thing with this meta, right? There's a lot of different dynamics that you can go for, and a lot of things that can be countered, especially in the bottom lane right now, because there's so many different styles available. And the teams that are flushing out their least flexible roles first, and then allowing themselves to just have as many options remaining as possible, will generally end up with the most success here, right? In this case, with so few mid lane picks that are actually truly viable, it makes sense why a lot of teams, or why some teams, are prioritizing things like the Azir, because regardless of what comp you're going for, you're going to pick this champion, or something like this champion, like Azir, Nico, or in most circumstances. So why not swing for something like this? And that's the idea here, and that's why C9 ended up on top in this case. Despite NRG having priority picks of their own. So just wanted to point that out. I thought it was really well crafted by C9. And see you guys.